Howdy folks, Little John, and 5 on Friday. I'm doing this a little bit early. It's actually Wednesday morning. Me and the missus are heading off to Sydney this morning. A couple of days tonight, tomorrow night in Sydney, catching up with the brother-in-law and the niece and the nephew, and then we're heading to Wollongong for the weekend. Catch up. We're going to go and see Cold Chisel on Saturday night, and to catch up with family and friends down there as well. So getting this one done early out of the way before I go. I'm going to do something a little bit different today. Well, I see, quite a few videos on different pieces of equipment in the brewery, things that you use when as part of your brewing. Hydrometers particularly is one you quite often see videos on. And the brewing gear, the mash tuns and kettles and all the rest of it, stuff like that. You see plenty of videos. But one thing you very rarely see on video, but is commented about quite a bit, is a piece of equipment which most brewers have got in their setup and use for different things. And to some degree, it's almost like a bit of an unsung hero in the brewery, and that is this bit of gear. The 19 litre stock pot. Often you'll see referred to on forums and Facebook and stuff just simply as the Big W stock pot, or the $20 stock pot, because it's a 19 litre stock pot. If you haven't got one, if you don't know what it is, stainless steel stock pot comes from Big W. If you're not in Australia, Big W is just a big chain department store. But it's a cheap, they're 20 bucks. Literally, it might even be $19. $1 a litre. But either way, I bought this pot when I first got back into the brewing, or not long thereafter. So it's around 9 years ago, and I think I paid $19 for it then. I'm pretty sure there's still $19 on the shelf. Like I said, could be 20, but it's definitely no more than 20. It doesn't cost you any more than a Redback to buy one of these guys. They're not super high quality. They're just a thin base, but they do a really good job for what you need them for. And that's it. I call this, I'm trying to say, a bit of an unsung hero around the brewery, because they get used for bloody a hell of a lot. Apart from being quite often, for a lot of guys, a first entry into anything other than just basic kit brewing. You know, if you're going into even just boiling, doing mini mashes, and steeping grains, etc. When you're first starting, first in kits, and expanding a little bit, or you're going into extract brewing, this is quite often the first step you'll take. The first bit of equipment you'll get outside of your fermenters and the actual, you know, that core range of brewing stuff. That's the first place you step outside, because you can stick this on your stovetop in the kitchen, get your water hot, put your bag in there, and you can do a small brew in a bag or a mini mash, you know, for those kit brews. So this is where that sort of steps in and people start using this sort of thing. Because it's only the 19 litres, it's movable. You can move it around, you move it around while it's got stuff in it. It's not bloody particularly overly heavy and all the rest of it. transport water in and out of the brewery and things like that. So plenty of guys are going out and buying these, and as I said, they're recommended all the time on Facebook and forums. People asking, you know, I want to make my beers a bit better, what do I do? And the first thing is go and buy yourself a bloody 19 litre stock pot and a grain bag and start doing some mashing. So anyone who's taken that step, well, not everyone, but anyone who's taken that step beyond basic kits has one of these bits of gear in their kit. If you don't have one, if you are that kit brewer or whatnot, this is a good thing to look at, to step up to. But that's not why I call it the unsung hero. It's not just because it does, you know, that one little thing, because there's plenty of options to do that. I've got a good little 10 litre stock pot which I bought from which I bought at Maldi. It probably cost me about $15, I think, at the time. It's got a good sandwich base on it, and that's really good for doing small stuff, and it gets a bit of use, but it's not as handy, not as usable as just the size of this. 19 litres, it's beautiful, perfect, great size. When I first went to all grain brewing, I was using 2 of these, along with a tradie pail, plastic tradie pail, which I think cost me $11 from the local hardware. And I was doing all grain, full batch all grain brewing, with 2 of these on the stovetop and that tradie pail. So effectively for, you know, about $60 including a grain bag, I was able to do full batch all grain brewing. I've got the video. We're using one of these pots and doing small batch stovetop, where you can knock out a 10 litre batch with no problem at all on one of these guys on the stove, for under $30. So great bit of gear, but it's so much more than just that one little pot for doing that steeping in. These pots are constantly getting used around my brewery. Just as an example, 2 days ago I did a corn mash for some bourbon. Used both of these pots on the stove to mash my corn in before going into the robo brew. Just made life easier. I used to use these for my sparge water. A lot of people still do. Perfect size for sparge water. If I'm doing a standard brew, I've got somewhere around normally about 12-14 litres of sparge water. Perfect. I can heat sparge water on the stove and bring it out to the brewery, no problem at all. Or I can use my 2 little 2-burner cooktop here in the garage. It takes a bit longer, so I do find it easier to just use the kitchen stove and carry it out. And again, that's that whole point. I can just pick that up, carry it out, no worries at all. When I'm mucking around and I'm mashing and stuff, and this will get used all the time. Pulling a grain bag, like if I'm doing anything with a grain bag, the grain bag can go in here once it's pulled out of the main vessel. I'll use this if I'm pulling out hot bags out of the robo brew when I'm pulling them out before I go to a boil. I just dump them into the pot, easy. It's clean. They drain off. I can collect any liquid that's excess and put it back into the robo brew, and this fella just wipes out nice and clean, and away you go, back on the bench and continue on. Not mucking around with other containers. One thing I find it really handy for, and this is possibly specific to my breweries, on Brewdale I'm using the robo brew. I've got the chiller hooked up. I use standard like tap connectors, hose connectors for the inlet and outlet. Now they have a problem where they do like to leak a little bit. So instead of getting them all over the floor, I just did both of those connections into this pot next to the robo brew, and any leakage stays in there. I haven't got it on over the floor and carry on. And again, when I'm finished, set this outside, dump it, boom, and done. So it's a very versatile piece of kit. I've even used it, you see, it's got a hole in there. I used this to experiment when I was putting an element into my, HLT, which was a couple of $100 pot. I didn't want to stuff it up, so I played around with this fella with my with the step drill to make sure I was doing it right and safely before I went attacking a highly expensive bit of gear. The $20 pot was willing to sacrifice itself if need be. So they're good to have around. So if you haven't got one, it's worth looking at. If you are doing just kits and you are looking to improve them, grab yourself one of these fellas in the grain bag so you can do some mini mashing and steeping. If you're just doing it as like a mini mash and it's only this is a little bit bigger than what you do need, but you won't outgrow this in the brewery until such time as you go to a full batch brewing. And even then, I said even then, this will still have a use. You won't lose this. It's never money you're going to spend and not get anything out of it. To make $20, you get 3 or 4 brews out of this, and it's paid for itself anyway. So anyway, gotta wrap it up. Got things to do, got to get organised. So, do you have a 19 litre stock pot? Is there one of these sitting in your brewery? Do you use it? Is it great? Is it the unsung hero of your brewery? If it is, added bonus, nice big glass lid. Anyway, let's say, if you're using one, stick a comment down the bottom. Let us know, do you use it for anything, something a bit unusual? Is there something different you do with it? Is it one of the best bits of gear you've ever purchased for your brewery? Anyway, that's me, Little John. So as always, big shout out to all the Patreons. Sorry I'm not going to get everybody listed today. I'm in a bit of a rush to get this out. But anyway, I've got stuff coming for you guys when I get back at the end of the month. If you haven't subscribed to Little John, hit the subscribe button down there in the corner. Come along for the ride, get notified when things are happening. If you like the video, give us a like. It always helps out. But other than that, Little John, I'm done for the day. So, till I'm looking at you again, we're drinking beer, brewing beer, or we're talking beer. Good brewing.